Like the Doobie Brothers figured out how to take minor chords and first inversion chords and listen to the music and Long Train Runnin'. Now everybody else can do that, but you still sound like you're the Doobie Brothers. You know, so if you are always trying to do something different. Anyway, this is kick drums. In a minute I'm going to play a track for you. When you hear the drums, it is this instrument. In fact, I think I'll do that and show you what I'm talking about. And even the chair can be a drum. Okay, so now let me get over here. I try not to kill myself. And like I told you, I like toys. You're going to see this. This is another toy. So, I can hardly wait to hold you. Hey, it doesn't work. I'm going to do that again. Guess I should have checked that. How do I got the mute on? Tap on it, would you? There we go.
Hey Jim,
Uh-huh.
not to private, the cost of an instrument like that or
This
a toy
one?
like that, just a ballpark range.
1900.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Then if you want to buy the modules,
Oh.
actually this module, you can probably go on Amazon and get it. I got that one for 50 bucks. But originally I think they cost around $400, but now they're old technology. This is old technology. You know, and
So that's just the controller, right?
yeah, it's a MIDI controller. Everything that I'm playing, all of the things that I play, they're all MIDI. It's a musical digital interface, and it just goes into software programs, and then any sound of any musical instrument that you can put in the software program, you could play. So shall I try this again? Let's try this one.
But there is one instrument you're playing that clearly isn't MIDI.
Pardon me?
There's one instrument you're playing that clearly isn't MIDI controlled. And that's your voice.
How do you know?
Oh, you're going on the basis that you actually think I'm a human and not
This music world?
I didn't see a USB port in the back of your head.
That's old technology. I am human. I can hardly wait to hold you. Feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't go away. So that is that. is in your eyes, a look, your smile can't disguise. The look of a love is saying so much more than words could ever say. What's in my heart, you know, well, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, hey, don't ever go. Don't ever go. Grab this little toy. I was going to put the keyboard up here. Okay, oh, there's the strap. I was going to put the keyboard up here, and then decided I'll keep the keyboard down here for the lessons. So then we'll have the stage here available for anybody who wants to come in for me with lessons. If you want to get up and play your guitar and us go over tunes and work on a song, then we'll have a stage to do that. Okay, now this. Loud enough? Yeah. Loud enough? Sounds quiet to me.
Is this speaker working here?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Let me double check. Does it feel like it's not working? Stay. The lights on.
I was the only one talking to the
Mine argue with me. That's right.
Yeah.
Checking 1, 2. Oh, it's coming out. It's really coming out. And how do you like my helicopter microphone stand? It packs up really well. Okay, so a Chapman stick, which is this one back here, This is a hybrid. It was made by Emmett Chapman and also by Niall Steinberger, the Steinberger bass. So you can see that the model here is that there's no, that over there. That would be better.
Yeah.
There's no headstock here. So the tuning's down here. So you can tap on it, you can play it. There's a duo called Tuck and Patty. Anybody know who they are? So I like playing guitar a lot like Tuck. Not that I'm as good as Tuck, but I like playing like guitar like Tuck. So we got a bass and we got a guitar. And
How many strings?
this one's got 8 on it. That one back there has 10.
And you tune on the, how do you tune the strings?
With these
Okay.
little Turner things here. Do nothing till you hear from me. Pay no attention to what's said. Why people tear the seams of anyone's dreams is over my head. Do nothing till you hear from me. At least consider our romance. If you believe the words of others you've heard, then I haven't a chance. True, I've been seen with someone new. Does that mean that I'm untrue? When we're apart, the words in my heart reveal how I feel about you. Kiss me, cloud my memories. Though other arms may hold such thrills, nothing till you hear it from me. You never will. Shop through my True, I've been seen with someone new. Does that mean that I'm untrue? When we're apart, the words in my heart reveal how I feel about you. Kiss me, cloud my memories. Though other arms may hold such thrills, do nothing till you hear it from me. You never will. Till you hear it from me. Hear it from me. Hear it from me. You never will. Whoa, 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 yeah. Toys. Skills?
How is it strung, just out of curiosity? What are the strings?
So it's tuned like a tenor guitar, and you have choices. You can be Stanley Jordan on it, right? So now, if you're Stanley Jordan, you'd be really good, first of all. But he tunes it in straight fourths. He tunes his guitar in straight fourths, so that, you know, on the guitar, we're always in standard tuning, we're always compensating for that half a step. We go down the 5th fret, and then between the 3rd and 2nd string is a major 3rd apart, and everything else is a perfect 4th apart. And so what that means is that you're always compensating. I'll give you a quick guitar lesson. There's a pattern to all of the modes, and that pattern can easily be seen on this instrument easier than on the guitar. But the pattern's happening on all of the instruments. It's happening on a violin. It's happening on anything that has strings on it. And that pattern is this. It's this whole steps like this. 3 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. and they keep on cycling in a circle. So in other words, if I go like this, if I actually say I play a major scale here, somewhere where you guys can hear it. And that's like a G bar chord right there. If you start to get your head together about that, that's B flat now. So this is the second of the three. If I go, now there's two of these. But I have to compensate now. I can't go straight across. I have to move up and do two of those. So again, if I'm here, now there's the third of the pattern, and then we're back down to here. So now you can see the pattern of there's three of these, two of these, compensate, two of these. If you're on a violin or anything that's tuned in fifths, it goes 4 notes per string like this, and then it becomes that. So that's the major scale going up, only I just dropped down an octave on this instrument. If I was playing that on the stick, it would actually go up. Make sense? So I guess now if I just picked up a guitar and showed you that same pattern, you can see that you can start to see the pattern. Actually, if you come in for a hangout with me, I'll show you that. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be here. I'm going to keep the piano down there on the floor. I'll vocalize. We kind of didn't come up with a real method for doing this, but maybe if we could just get a sign-up sheet, you know, and people can just drop in randomly if there's nobody here. Hey, you drop in and I'm here. If it starts to look like it's getting crowded and people want more privates, then we can kind of have like a sign-up sheet for times.
Yeah, we can put a whiteboard over here.
Yeah, and
So let's just see how it goes, like,
how that works.
today, so that's-
Maybe nobody will come see me at all. I don't know. They're all guitar players, but anybody that wants to learn how to sing or learn a little bit more about singing, it's my passion. It's what I love to do. Let me put this down. Besides toys.
So Jen, a question that came up with a visitor at our house the other day is, how can you sing at 10 o'clock in the morning?
What time is it?
Actually, we're hoping you can sing by noon. I don't know if you're going to get there yet. No. But, yeah.
Right on my way back from having breakfast, that's what I was doing. So these are called, and some people can do them, some people can. If you can roll your R's, you know, like Spanish, or which will relax all the tension of the stem of the tongue and all of this down here. Lip roll. The vocal folds are a resisting valve. I talk about it all the time on the website. And the air is pushing up underneath the vocal cords. And so when I say it's a resisting valve, I really mean more than you think I mean. Because the vocal folds are pushing in from the sides. And the way that we actually get tone in our sound is by how much compression we're creating from the vocal folds pushing on the sides. And if you might say, well, how do you know how to push your vocal cords in from the sides? You're doing it all the time. Dave is doing it when he's singing the songs that he's singing, and he's singing with passion, and he's thinking about things. He's accessing sounds in his mind, you know, and those sounds become interpretations that the vocal cords sort of walk into. Some of us figure that out one way or another. But what's really going on is tension of the vocal cords and resistance of the vocal folds. So the idea, and then the biggest problem that everybody always makes, that I work with all the time, is people build too much heft underneath their vocal cords when they're bringing pressure underneath. So when they try to sing too hard, the harder and louder you try to sing, the harder your vocal folds hold back the pressure, and that's how you trash your voice. And so, and my example of that is when we were kids and you took baseball cards and you put them on the spokes of a bicycle, and the cards and the spokes hit the cards and you get a motorcycle sound. But if you remember what happened, pretty soon the cards get all worn out and the motorcycle sound goes away. And it's just like, that's what your vocal folds are at the end of the night when you've been singing too hard. Or when you get a sore throat, the reason why your highs go the reason why highs go first is because when we're singing on the edges of our vocal folds, that's how you get the high notes. And if the chords swell up, the edges go away. So when your vocal folds swell up, you lose your highs. You also lose your highs when you try to sing too hard and too loud, because the same thing, you create edema too much heat in your cords, and then the cords swell up. So a terrible thing to do. I have a friend who has been the lead singer of Creedence Clearwater Revived, and Revisited, or yeah, his name's John Tristale. And he was blowing his voice out on the first tour, trying to sing. Yeah, actually, there's the whole story there because they got sued, and he brought him to court, and he actually thought it was him. John sounds so much like him that some of the stuff that John did, he thought it was him, and they were suing them for songs that John sang. Listen to the story. Anyway, a doctor in LA told him, not that I really think this is a great idea, but it'll give you a thought, to take aspirin and drink ice water. Believe it or not. What? Yeah, what? You know, I spent my whole life saying you would never ice your legs before you run, and you would never, you know, but if you're a heavy-duty rock singer or singing metal, you're swelling your cords up. So cold water will cool them down. First of all, water won't get directly to your vocal cords. The only thing that gets directly to your vocal cords is steam. So that's why in the bathroom, when we're taking a shower, you know, I sing better in the shower, is because you're singing to the hydrated water that's going up through your nose. And then now I have a Chinese doctor, who's an allopathic doctor, but my doctor, I got sick, really bad sick, about 9 weeks ago now, and got the cold and did the Z-Pack 5-day antibiotic thing. Got well from the cold, but didn't get well. I got a sinus infection, and which is really hard to get rid of. So my Chinese doctor told me to go to Fry's and buy, for $19.95, the cheapest rice cooker that you could find. And it's the best steamer that you can possibly get. And you put distilled water in it and put your head over it, and the hot steam comes up and you steam yourself, and that's probably the best thing you can do for your vocal folds or to get rid of a...
You make lots of rice now?
I make no rice, but I sit over that stupid thing, and my cat doesn't like it. So my cat's like at my leg going the whole time, which makes it really aggravating to be sitting there with the steamer and the cat freaking out on me. But anyway, hydration is what it's about, so I don't get off the track here in relationship to the vocal folds pushing together. If I go, I'm very breathy, you know, happy birthday, Mr. President. Right, so, right? But if it goes, same notes, I just compress my vocal cords. So the difference between those notes is how much compression you get from the sides. There are lots of different exercises that you can do to push your cords together from the sides. There's exercises that you can do to access the highest and lowest parts of your range, and that's what I do all day long. So if you come see me, that's what will happen. And you've already got to hear all these great teachers, and I did a couple songs for you, but I think I'll shut up now, and we can all get out of here and go to the beach, and now you know what I do, and I'm here to do it for you. So.
What does salt water do for them? If you're out at the beach, you're going to be...
Well, you know what? Seriously, surfers don't get sinus infections. They cure up really well. They get bit by sharks, but you know, it's a trade-off. You know, but the salt water's. Hey, without getting into the whole thing, we probably come from the ocean, and so that, you know, our bodies are a lot of salt water. So salt water's good for you. But those sinus rinses, the neti pot and that kind of stuff, if you're going to do it, use the bottle instead of the neti pot. Turning your head doesn't get everything in there. But you can't cure a sinus infection with those if the sinus infection is gone. Because, you know, our sinuses go all the way up to here. And you cannot get water there. I mean, except for steam. Steam is the only thing that'll get up there. So, any other questions, or do we all want to get out of here? We all want to get out of here.
I like the violin.
It's not hooked up yet, but I will. You can see I have my bow holder and I have my bow.
You have an electric violin here?
I have a 5-string electric violin and an acoustic violin. They're underneath the thing there. Yeah. I decided not to even. I used up all 12 channels. I have a Behringer 18-channel digital with an iPad that I have on order. When I have that, I can play all of my instruments, but I actually maxed out. I couldn't even set up my Kemper last night I was trying to set all this stuff up and I go, I can't even set up all my stuff. Then I thought about it and I go, well, you know, Neil talked about what a great violinist I am and I played gypsy jazz and everything. I suck on the violin. I mean, but I can play it, and you can see that I know some stuff about strings and patterns and all. I can play through all 12 keys and I can play tunes, and I have jazz tunes going off in my head, and I think that way. So I can jam through things on the violin, but it's hard to keep a violin in tune. It's one of the biggest tasks in the world. For all the stuff that I play, including being able to sing, that's the hardest thing. Should I maybe sing one more song and then we come back?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll sing one more song. Let me dial it in. I love this song. You give your hand to me, then you say hello. I can hardly speak, my heart is beating so. Anyone can tell, you think you know me well, but you don't know me. You don't know the one who dreams of you at night, longs to kiss your lips, wants to hold you tight. To you I'm just a friend, so I have ever been. No babe, you don't know me. For I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with love for you. I'm afraid and shy, hey, I let my chance go by, a chance that you might love me too. You give your hand to me, then you say goodbye. I watch you walk away beside that oh so lucky guy. You'll never ever know the one that loves you so. No baby, you don't know me. Now I'm never gonna make it to my trumpet, because I'd be playing a trumpet solo. But hey, I'll talk instead. This part right here, I'm really good on this part. You'll never know. I'll tell the truth. Loves you so. You don't know me. Here comes that other part with the different changes. For I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with love for you. I'm afraid and shy, hey, I let my chance go by, chance that you might love me too. You give your hand to me, then you say goodbye. I watch you walk away beside that oh so lucky guy. You'll never ever know the one who loves you so. No babe, you don't know me. You don't know me. I watch you walk away. No babe, you don't know me. You don't know me, babe. Thank you. Okay, let's party on.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, just because, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed it, that the phrasing, his phrasing on that was really impeccable. And
Thank you.
it's really hard to phrase, he's not singing right with the track, he's singing around the track. I find when I'm playing guitar and I'm singing, it's hard.
Harder to do that.
It's much harder to do that.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or tricks for how to break away from singing and playing and finding yourself sort of singing?
Well, I have some theories about phrase. I have a lot of theories about phrasing, and I actually hand out a exercise that goes through all 7 of the modes, but starting on the same note. And I go through quarter notes, eighth notes, 2/16 to an eighth, an eighth to 2/16, 4/16, dotted quarter note triplets, eighth note triplets, and a dotted eighth to a 16th note pattern. And I have that exercise, and I can send that to everybody via email. The reason why I like everybody to vocalize through all 7 of the modes is because each one of those modes works around a chord change. And so you start to hear all of these different rhythms that you can start to incorporate against the sounds of different chords, because it's my experience that one of the problems is that when you start to think one thing, the other thing screws you up. So when you start to think, people think that they could like sing these scale patterns, but as soon as you throw rhythms into those scale patterns, they get lost. And it gets harder to do, unless you vocalize that way. And that's one of the ways that I actually have to help. But to answer your question, there's a whole thing about phrasing if you're a jazz singer, if you're an R&B singer, if you're a blues singer. So jazz singers all the time will, like Sinatra was a jazz singer, he was a big band jazz singer, but he was a jazz singer. And he would sing through the bar lines. And he would phrase past the bar lines and hold notes for way longer than you expected him to do that. You know, so that's his way. A lot of jazz players like to sing behind the beat, on top of the beat, way up in front of the beat, pull back, change their dynamics. That's how a jazz singer sings. If you're an R&B singer, instead what R&B singers do is that, and this is a generalization, but what R&B singers have to do is that they got to sing dead on in the middle. The drummer, the bass player, everybody's laying down the rhythm very rhythmically strong. When you're playing acoustic guitar like you do, and you're laying out your groove, so you're feeling your groove in the way that you're laying everything down with your hands, now you have to like phrase, you have to like split your mind and phrase against that in a different way. But sometimes that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to be dead center in the middle of the rhythmical groove that it is that you're laying down. So it depends, but let's say you're singing a ballad, then you might think a little bit more about your singing and a little bit less about your playing. And so now you lay out maybe longer chord changes, something that's holding, and any time, and you can like fool the audience even in the fact that you can go like 4 measures of something easy to do with your hands, so you can get really complicated with your phrasing. And then you can get strong into your hands and let your phrasing be rhythmically inside the heart of what it is that you're doing. That's the kind of things I think when I'm playing. So that's some suggestions.
Question on your trumpet. Do you have to, in comparison to a...
Do you have to have an embouchure? Is that what you're, I'm sorry.
No. As far as breath, compared to a normal trumpet. Sorry, I don't know.
But I'd like to know if you do have to have an embouchure.
Well, I do play trumpet, and I used to play trumpet a lot. Like I went through, there's a book called Double High C in 36 Weeks. It took me 3 years to get through that. And I could hit a double high C. But I start reading, I'm a real health nut, and my heart lies in singing more than anything, even though I love playing instruments. And I realized, I start reading, and I start to see that brass players get brain aneurysm, and they die. And they also have to give up the instrument before piano players, guitar players can play for the rest of their lives. The brass players have to, there's an expiration date. So that's when I got into these horns, because the answer is I can blow like Maynard and Ferguson all night long, and it doesn't nearly the air pressure that it would take to really blow if I was a trumpet player in Tower of Power. who I have a friend who plays like that, you know. He's amazing, but to keep that lit, it's a thankless instrument. You gotta have your mouthpiece with you everywhere you go. And I just walked away from it. I did two things. I cut my fingernails and never looked back for finger picking. You know, I just used my fingers. That's the way I think. And I threw the mouthpiece in I have an acoustic trumpet that has the valves are probably stuck because it's the last time I played it. But I love playing the electric horns. I have an electric saxophone. I have a real weird looking thing that looks like a bug sprayer called a Steiner. And then I have this digital trumpet that you're looking at. And I'm really happy with those.
And because it's MIDI, say your sax or your trumpet, you can literally lay down the track on a looper.
Well, you've heard some of the stuff that I've done. You heard the tracks, right? So, and you can do it on a looper, and that's a whole trippy thing in itself. I have a looper. I've got the 300 thing with all the bells and whistles, because I spend I'm a gear junkie. Fake? You know, so this is where I spend my money. This is my drug of choice. And so I spend my money on equipment all the time, so I've got the best of everything, and I'm befuddled on figuring out how to use it because it's too complicated. But so yeah, I use a looper, and sometimes I sing, and I sing over the tracks. I've tried to do stuff with I'm very gentle whenever I'm doing the violin because I can't keep the doggone thing in tune on the looper. You know, so like I can, the digital trumpet's perfectly in tune. It never goes out of tune. It's tuned up, so I use the stuff that I know that'll work on the looper. Okay? All right?